Hi. My name's Scott Childers and I'm in Austin, and I've met some individuals that are protesting. I've spoken to the Palestinian and anti-war groups, and moving on down the line, I've met this gentleman.
Right, you got the big enchilada here. I think the important thing to think about is that Obama, as the President of the United States, works for an international group of imperialists. It's a banking crowd. They control most of the world's raw materials. They control the currencies of nations. And he's doing their bidding. He's not concerned about the American people, and that's exemplified by the budget cutting that's coming down on the people of this country. The austerity is what it's really called. The fact that we've got to cut everything. You've got cities across the country that are laying off 10%,
in Detroit, they're bulldozing a third of their city.
Right, exactly. We're shutting down our city's ability to survive with teachers, police, fire, civil services, sewage and sanitation. And Obama's saying we're going to bail out the banks with trillions and trillions of dollars while our cities and our people suffer. So that gives you the character of who Obama is. His health care bill puts a price tag on human life, says that we're going to put a cost-benefit analysis on if it's worth saving grandma's life or little Johnny's. And if the cost outweighs the benefit, then we're going to have to let them go. Right?
So if you had a singular message to give the president today, what might it be?
To resign today.
That bluntly, huh?
That bluntly, because
what would be someone has to take his place. Who might that person be?
You know, the way the Nixon affair worked is pretty.
So you ready for President Biden?
No, it could be like with the Nixon case. Agnew was asked to leave. They brought in a person that was
Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford, right? Who was Gerald Ford, but it was a person that was thought of as more patriotic, not so much factional in terms of Republican or Democrat. You could.
So even though we have laws and a progression for that, there's actually a kind of a chain of command that if the president drops, then it's the vice president, then it's another group of people.
But you can always say, Biden, you go, and then Obama can leave next. But whoever comes in in the vice president's position would be somebody that's going to carry out the policy of rebuilding the nation.
Very
similar
interesting.
to what FDR did. We're going to have an FDR rebuilding of our country, a New Deal style rebuilding.
From the ground up?
Essentially, because you got large portions of our country that are like the great American desert. It's barren. We can start building new cities there if we bring water. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have to cancel the debt of the banks, and that, what Franklin Roosevelt did with the Glass-Steagall legislation, banking legislation, reinstitute Glass-Steagall across the board in the exact form Roosevelt did it. That would force banks to be honest, in a sense.
I think that's wishful thinking.
Well,
greed's a powerful tool.
It was the law of the land until 1999, and it was repealed in '99 by Larry Summers, Greenspan, and Clinton was under impeachment with Monica Lewinsky scandals. So he was thinking out, away from what he should have been thinking about, and so he went along with the swindle of repealing Glass-Steagall. So it was only 10 years ago, 11 years ago that was the law of our land. Immediately go back to those laws. All this debt that we're bailing out right now would immediately be flushed down the toilet. Wall Street would be flushed down the toilet. And instead you would start funding projects like rebuilding Detroit, rebuilding the nation, and the most optimistic of the projects is called NWAPA.
Interesting. I'll look into that. I appreciate you sharing today, and hopefully your message gets through to the president.
Okay. Have a good one.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Do you mind sharing your position with me today?
Sure.
I see your sign. Seems fairly blunt. Do you mind? How should I say it? Embellishing this?
Well, I just thought that this would be funny. I'm not really taking the whole protest that seriously.
Very good.
Basically, I am against Obama because he's doing exactly the same stuff as Bush, only a lot more. And in a couple years, the economy is going to crash, and we're going to enter a hyperinflationary depression because of the inflation of the currency that the government has been engineering. So what I'm really looking forward to is for the government to get out of the banking industry completely, stop subsidizing Wall Street, stop regulating Wall Street, allow people to invest in the projects, that they think are worthwhile, rather than hampering the banking system and allowing the banking system to live.
So would you say you're a free market capitalist?
Absolutely. I'm against all government, essentially. Basically all services that are normally considered to be government services.
Roads, sewers, schools.
All of these can be privatized, and there are historical examples for any kind of service that you might want to bring up.
Okay, if you had a simple message to deliver to Obama today, what might it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Abdicate, but first fire everybody.
First, fire everybody. I'm not utterly opposed to that, but I don't know if America's ready for no leadership. These guys over here don't tell me who they think ought to run the country if Obama moves on. Would you mind sharing some thoughts along that line with me? If the president abdicates, who takes his place? What takes his place?
Okay, well, there's no reason for any single person to run everything. What we need is for any given industry, the people who are best at it should run that particular industry.
Like BP and oil? They're one of the best. They're one of the biggest. I mean, that would be a good example of laissez-faire capitalism.
I would disagree with that. There are all sorts of regulations that prevent oil companies from drilling near the shore. That's why they go out in the middle of the ocean. And I think that there is an anti-free market tradition which prevents people from owning the ocean. So,
do you think that it's possible for business to drill in the Gulf of Mexico without destroying 5 states worth of shoreline?
I think so, because on the free market, people would own the shoreline and they could sue BP for the damages.
Well, we're the people and we own the shoreline.
Well, listen. There was a regulation that the government created a few years ago which restricted damages to oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico to something like 75 million or something like that.
Yep.
But the damage caused by BP was far, far greater than that.
It's going to be in the trillions before it's all done.
So if we had a free market, they would actually plan for the possibility of causing trillions of damages. But since there was that regulation, they thought, hey, we can cause as big a damage as we want. Well, we won't have to pay more than 75 billion. I think that was the correct number. I'm not sure if it was million or billion.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your perspective. Those are some interesting thoughts. My website's called Cameras for the Gulf, and you're willing to, if you're willing, check it out. And
keep the camera on all the policemen as much as possible.
Oh, I do.
Okay, good.
They're part of us too.
I don't like cameras on them.